house suited the high pitch of my nerves that summer. At 17, I was as eager to know the world as it seemed eager to shroud itself from me, and fretful at what I thought were my bonds. I had begun to wear my white dresses like flags, a slim Crusoe signaling for the distant triangle of sails to break the flat line of what appeared to me but an endless, dulled sea. As I followed behind my father and mother, I looked up at the top of the house to see if I might spy a figure there watching our advance up the lawn from the windows of her attic room. I never thought of Grange House without that figure standing in it. That afternoon, I did not see her, but, hoping she still looked for my return, I held my gloved hand up in a small salute. "Maisie!" Mama called from the top stair of the veranda. "I am here," I replied, dropping my hand down to my side, but she had already swung round to follow my father across the threshold into the house, not lingering to take in the view. I cast one last glance upward, and then, gathering my skirts, took the remainder of the lawn with quick feet. My parents were stopped just inside, next to Mrs. French, the long, wide front hallway stretching past them, with its several doors to the public rooms swung open, and the hubbub of tea-time voices issuing into the air. It was ever so, year after year. Here in the front hall, the mix of salt air and cut bayberry, the branches stuffed into matching copper pots upon the table, the silvery green leaves waxy as ever against the paper roses upon the wall. It was only I who seemed to change, a knife cut in the vergeless surface of the place, my arrival cleaving one summer from the next. And that afternoon in July, I remember thinking I was like the prince returning to the Sleeping Beauty's castle. Let the story begin, I thought impatiently, now that I am here. Though what I meant by that, I had not the slightest idea. "Well, well, my dear," the housekeeper cried out on seeing me upon the threshold, and she beamed the compliment over to Mamma, who smiled absently, pulling off her gloves. "Are we to have our usual rooms, Mrs. French? I am quite in need of a little rest." "Yes, of course. Please, Mrs. Thomas, to follow me." "Welcome, Thomases." A quiet voice spoke from the doorway just behind Papa. We all three turned round to see the cook of Grange House, standing silently there, her arms crossed over her bosom. Mamma gave only the briefest of nods before turning to follow Mrs. French, who waited at the bottom of the stairs. "Cook?" Papa bowed kindly to the woman. "Good afternoon, Mr. Thomas," she answered, dismissing him as she leaned slightly back against the door-frame and turned her gaze upon me. Papa never seemed to mind the cook's inexplicable command of their encounters, and I had by now grown accustomed to this woman's yearly scrutiny. Yet that afternoon, I relished the chance to consider her in turn, and I calmly lifted my eyes to hers and smiled. For an instant, I thought she shivered. "Maisie Thomas," she said, swiftly uncrossing her arms. "How you have grown." And without another word, she withdrew. Never mind, I thought, a bit disconcerted. She is not the important one. For though it was cook who ran Grange House from below stairs, and Mrs. French who held public sway in the middle rooms and floors, nonetheless it was the topmost figure, she whom I had watched for on our arrival, who was the possessing spirit of the place. I dressed quickly for dinner that evening, descending before my parents to station myself at the foot of the stairs, and there await the attic inhabitant of Grange House. And long after the other guests had assembled, passing me by with a nod and a greeting, and after Mamma and Papa had issued through to join them, it was she whom I now imagined descending the wooden attic stairs from her room at the top of the house to reach the servants' hall upon the 3rd floor, then down the next stairs into the regions of the 2nd floor, where the large rooms of her family's time had been changed to accommodate we summer people come